and welcome back to another ContinuousX podcast, where we try to solve for X in the SDLC equation. Here with me is Mike Fitzurka, my co-host and colleague. And in this episode, we have a couple of great guests who are solutions architects from our valued partners at Google, Saurabh Chhatwal and Francisco Gonzalez. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello. Thank you for having us here.
Oh, great. No, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us on the show.
Awesome. We've been hearing a lot of buzz in the DevOps world around platform engineering. And we were hoping that you could help convey to our audience what's platform engineering and its kind of general impact into the public sector movement towards a DevSecOps of culture.
Practically all the states are trying to move towards digital services, and all 50 states, and then DC is trying to do that. And to do so, they need to build a speed to deliver experiences for their citizens. And of course, that requires coming out from legacy IT practices and adopting agile practices like DevSecOps. Obviously, it started out with DevOps, but you need to inject security into that because it is about your citizen data. It is about your very sensitive and critical workloads like taxation data and then how it impacts customers. So that said, organizations, public sector organizations need to adopt these agile practices, but there is a definite differentiation between DevSecOps versus platform engineering. I would say DevSecOps is a subset of the platform engineering mindset. I call platform engineering a service mindset, service with a smile, if I could compare, and then service with less pain, and then golden path practices. DevSecOps facilitates adopting those golden paths, and then I would like my knowledgeable colleague Francisco to weigh in on that as well.
No, of course. And I think you bring up a good point, Saurabh, right? Many times we hear a lot of buzzwords coming out in the industry, right? We hear DevOps, DevSecOps, we hear CI/CD, and we start talking about different variations of these. And I think for many practitioners, many professionals in our field, we see platform engineering and we start thinking that this is a new evolution of the DevOps approach. And that's where I think we need to have very specific definitions of these technologies and these approaches, because the way I see it and the way Google practices it in many large organizations is that DevOps is a methodology. It's a cultural aspect of the organization, and platform engineering is one of the methods within it. So just like Saurabh said, you have platform engineering, which is teams focused on delivering internal services, internal platforms that then your other teams, your developers and your operators and your security personnel can use those services in order to follow the DevSecOps approach. So I think it's something very important to clarify, because we sometimes get wrapped up with all these different terminologies that it's important to have that clear distinction, I think.
I couldn't agree with you more, and thank you for those cogent replies, because one of my concerns, it takes a while for a public sector to absorb a lot of these trends and innovations, agile, cloud, et cetera, and some agencies don't implement the spirit of those things competently, or at least to the spirit in which they were designed to solve challenges. And one of my concerns is from a platform engineering perspective, and we spoke about this in our previous discussions, was the fallback into the wall of platform engineering being the gatekeeper of all the technology that allows the developers to put their services out quicker. And my fear or concern, is that it falls back into those roles of that you put a work order in for developers to get either new technology or new disruptive experiments to do their job properly, because the spirit of agile or spirit of development is to be almost artistic in your ability to try new things and get better and speedy. And this platform engineering group, I don't want to evolve into another gatekeeper as we've seen in the past.
No, of course. And I think that's where platform engineering presents a risk if not done right. We need to also look at the fact of how teams are being organized within organizations, because a lot of the times that plays a big part into whether platform engineering can be a gatekeeper or not. So if you have a culture that embraces large teams and has very well-defined swim lanes, right, in terms of who can do what, then platform engineering can be something where there is a risk of having some backlash, or in terms of maybe not adopting that agile approach. So, for example, something at Google, we have this program called DORA, which stands for DevOps Research and Assessment. And DORA releases a State of DevOps Report yearly. And what you see from the reports of 2021 and 2022 is that if you take an approach where you expect your culture to change without addressing the technology, then there will be less adoption of these practices. There will be less adoption of new technology. There will be less adoption of best practices when it comes to CI/CD, security, and testing. However, if you adopt those right tools from the start, it makes those cultural changes easier. So it's really a top-down approach when you think about it, because it's not that culture changes and then technology changes. It's that the technology you adopt makes the teams change.
Right.
So, sorry, Saurabh.
And very rightly said. There is just one more thing which I would like to add over here, and that is to address the gatekeeping risk and people going, the agency IT going backwards. I think what is very, very important is the injection of the culture and the mindset, because we need to empathize with each persona, which is the end consumer, which is citizens for whom we are running these platform engineering teams. We have to also empathize with the challenges of the partners who may be delivering on behalf of these platform engineering teams. And of course, we have to empathize with the employees who have been working with. And there is standardized tooling and technologies at a fundamental level which I've come across. What has been a real challenge is the sprawl of commercial tools and everyone trying. So practically speaking, if we talk about what citizens want, they want modernized IT services. That is the fundamental.
Right.
What is it that the partners need to operate better with the state? They need APIs. And what is it that employees need? COVID has put a lot of stress on remote work. So basically, we need highly secure practices like a zero trust architecture,
right?
Essentially. And I believe that everyone joins the platform engineering journey at a different point. People come in and they leave, and the project is in a different state. So I think what is truly important is introducing them to what has been done, giving context, creating that culture of collaboration,
right?
Giving them the mindset that, hey, bringing in a new tool or technology may or may not add value. Mm-hmm. We have done this and we have standardized on this tool. And if the person or people coming in have alternate experiences, we can help them come up to speed with the tooling which we have standardized on. Because platform engineering is about delivering standard, guaranteed experiences.
I agree. It comes down to cognitive load. It's a term that often gets used with platform engineering, but you can only hold so much in your head. And if you've got all your developers who are then focused on the business track and then have to switch gears and think about how do I implement zero trust technology with it, they should be thinking about that in the architecture for certain. But when you ask one developer and you shift everything shift left onto the development, that's just cognitive load. That'll blow out what they are capable of working on. And a platform engineering team that can come in and give you that golden path. This is the way you should be doing it. This is the way our organization, our agency does this. I think that helps with that. As long as, I think as you were mentioning, the culture is already there. If you skipped the culture and then went straight to platform engineering, you are going to end up back into a dev versus ops. But if you're already embedded in that culture, boy, this is a good way to help alleviate that and scale agility upward.
Provided it's a give and take. Exactly. This is a collaborative wave of communication to communicate value and perspectives without starting to go into your own tribes.
Mm-hmm. And I would even argue that, and this is in response to Mike, right? I would even argue that platform engineering can be a facilitator to adopt a more DevOps culture. Because if we think about the idea of self-service tools, right, that developers would use, platform engineering is the idea of facilitating these tools, these internal platforms, or a defined list of tools that developers can use to be able to do testing quicker, to be able to do validation and verification of their files quicker. So having a platform engineering as a standard, right, in your organization isn't just the next evolution of DevOps. It's something you can start doing now in order to start having that more agile DevOps approach in your organization.
Right. I've seen it as listed, DevOps killer, and I think it's a killer DevOps. It is the right way to do DevOps.
Right. And I'm just driving this back from the customer and driving this back from what the citizens are looking forward to. And then I cannot resist the temptation of referencing a State Scoop article wherein McKinsey did a survey of 79,000 citizens and then trying to identify that, hey, what is their engagement level? It's not even the happiness level, I would say. It's more of the engagement level with their governments, and then wherever the states have been able to offer digital services, the engagement level is high. Mm-hmm. That builds trust in the public sector organization. And the most prominent organizations we have seen getting stressed during the COVID-19 pandemic, in my personal opinion, I believe it has been Department of Transportation and the Department of Human and Health Services. And in these two departments, you would have noticed that, the stress and this pressure from the outside world has compelled them to adopt platform engineering practices. It is happening across the board, across all 50 states. They may be at different points in their journey towards platform engineering, but what they are trying to do is that they're trying to identify ways through which they can solve the problems for their own citizens, and having digital state IDs has become a popular instrument to allow accessibility to different state services. And at the federal level, it's login.gov helping you out, having a single login for various services and benefits. That is because what are we going to do with platform engineering? We're going to basically offer high quality, sustainable services. And that is, so we need to go further north to build a better performing platform engineering practice.
Wow, that's a lot to unwrap. And thanks so much for such a rigorous conversation. And thank you to our listeners and viewers for your time and attention. Stay tuned for continued conversations with Saurabh and Francisco as we try to solve for X in the SDLC equation.